Hello all, welcome to Movie Bears Podcast TV. I'm Brad Harris, and every once in a while when our schedules align, I get together with some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos and friends to talk TV, something near and dear to our hearts. With me for the first time in a while on MBP TV is my wonderful, lovable, delectable partner, Jim Pugliafco. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Brad, and hello and welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And Casey Scott, who is usually with us, is going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. Stephen Heslin is traveling back from his holiday trip of fun. Unfortunately, we will miss him this week, but we'll catch up to him next time. In his stead, however, we have a very special guest joining us on MBP TV this week. You may have seen him on shows like, Black Mirror, 30 Rock, Modern Family, Nurse Jackie, and a whole plethora of others, as well as his touring comedy show, Size Matters. Raymond McAnally, welcome to MBP TV. Hello.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It is a pleasure. So, Raymond, my goodness, it is awesome to sit down and chat with you. I understand it is your birthday today. Is that right?
It is. It is. I'll even reveal the age. I'm 38 years old today.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah. It feels good. Feels good.
We'll save you the embarrassment of singing to you as our gift to you.
You're not even close to being the oldest one on this podcast. I'm just got that to say.
Well, now I feel even better.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Well, you, Raymond, have definitely piqued our interest. We noticed you, of course, on Season 3, Black Mirror, the episode San Junipero. And I reached out and I was like, oh my gosh, we would love to sit down and chat with you. And you seem to already be familiar with bears. So I was wondering if you could maybe tell us a little bit about your experience there. How are you aware of the gay bear community?
Oh, well, I've been lucky enough to grow, I guess, a bear fan base, I guess, in some regard. A very, very dear friend, Jay Duckworth, who's a part of the bear community in New York, introduced me to a lot of his friends, and then shows I've done have also added more folks from the bear community. I joked with you, I think, that whenever I do my show, Size Matters, and I go out into the lobby and I see a bear group has come out to see the show. I mean, it's like 10 guys. It looks like a casting call for my understudy, And so I feel very lucky to be so welcomed by the community, even though I'm straight or whatever. But I think big guys look out for other big guys, and there's a lot of folks who love us. So that's certainly something to be celebrated.
Yeah, usually when us bears get together and travel around in packs like that to shows or whatever, other people will come up who aren't familiar with the bear community, will be like, is this a truckers convention? What is this, like Duck Dynasty fans? What are you?
I know. Like, God forbid any of us wear a suit and dress up and look nice. We're always truckers or something blue collar. But hey, that's also my background, so I dig that.
Yeah. Well, as Brad said, we noticed you on the Black Mirror San Junipero episode, and it was odd because when watching that episode, I'm like, I was thrilled to see like a normal bearish guy represented, in that episode, which was amazing, by the way. Yeah. And can you tell us how you landed that role on that episode? And like, were they looking for a specific type, our type, your type, to fill that role, or was
right? Well, that's actually been one of the reasons I've been able to work so much, is that at least we are a type, they're the big funny fat guy, whatever you want to call him, he's a type. And I can't remember if this particular breakdown had any size in mind, but Greg was a very sweet, affable, caring guy. I mean, what he was willing to do for Yorkie to make sure she could go on to San Junipero is a big deal. That's a very giving human being. And a friend of mine who's a casting director in New York was contacted from the London production office And when he saw the breakdown, he thought of me, thank goodness. And so I live in Los Angeles, but I'm back and forth to New York a lot, and I put myself on tape thinking, I was already a huge fan of the show. All my filmmaker friends had turned me on to it as soon as it hit Netflix a year or so ago. And so, I thought, it's such a long shot, and I'm such a fan. Just focus on the work. Don't
geek out. Yeah.
Yeah, and probably a good thing that I did that too. Had it been in the room, maybe I would have fangirled a little too much or something. And next thing I knew, I got the phone call. So actually, a year ago on my birthday, I rapped on set so it's the year anniversary of shooting that episode. They flew me out to London. It was just an amazing experience. This is the farthest I've ever traveled for a gig. So it was just a win-win in every way possible. And then I made sure to tell, my wife all about all the first class plane flight and the 5-star hotel room, just to rub it in, because she was left at home with family making Thanksgiving dinner and stuff.
So I mean, it's got to be an honor to be like part of what I consider, and what Will said on our movie show last night, probably the best like hour episode of TV that we've seen like this year. And who knows what's going to happen, come Emmys or whatever, but
right.
The show's getting so much buzz right now.
Yeah, at first we were surprised. It screened in Toronto and at the London Film Festival, and it was one of the 2 or 3 episodes they picked. And originally, I think it was supposed to be the first in the slate. It doesn't really matter. Netflix put it forth, and next thing I knew, I started to get all this fan mail, and like I'm wearing a San Junipero T-shirt. Yes, you got one. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, a fan made them, and I thought that looks like an awesome, way to celebrate the show. And I think for a little while, Greg had a hashtag like Greg the Ally or something like that. It's been an awesome experience. Did that answer your question?
It did. It definitely did. And actually, the second part wasn't really on my questions list, but. I saw your shirt and I'm like, is he wearing the same shirt that I am? Yes.
Twinsies.
Yeah, right.
Love it. It's a lot of comment.
Casey's here.
I am here.
Casey Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, latecomer. Sorry about that. Technology's not my friend. I would not do well on an episode of Black Mirror, that's for sure.
Or maybe you would. Maybe that's part of the.
I would succeed despite all obstacles. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, let's pitch a new episode to Charlie about a guy who just cannot function with technology at all.
See, it would be perfect. You got to remember, but most episodes of Black Mirror, besides San Junipero, do not have a happy ending. So you'd be
exactly right. Right, exactly. Well, I was thinking more like Burgess Meredith in Twilight Zone, where I finally get it to work and then there's nobody to talk to. So it's like, no. Well, I did want to ask Randall about, because you're one of these faces that I've seen in a lot of shows before. So for a while there, I thought you were like a New York based actor, but then I saw you were appearing in a lot of California stuff. So I was interested in, the experience. Is there a difference between the West Coast and the East Coast in terms of like getting roles, the audition process, and the sets in general?
So you were correct. I was a New York actor. I was based in New York, for 8 years. Okay. Now I'm based in Los Angeles. My wife works for LA Opera. Okay. She's a stage manager, and she booked that dream gig. So we came out here, and it is different in that, some of the cliches are true. Mm-hmm. In New York, a lot of people, they spend their time in between TV and film gigs, or even if that's not their goal, they're honing their craft on stage. Out here, they're honing their craft with smaller film and TV projects. Mm-hmm. Like when I got out here, I started a comedy online comedy company in 2010 called Daily Fiber Films.
Mm-hmm.
Our motto is keeping your laughter regular. And
that's good.
when we were in New York, we were very much we're filmmakers making as short of film content as we could. We really never worried about making a sketch. But we found a home on YouTube and found a following. But when I left New York, it really wasn't something that New York industry-wise was talking about, at least figuring out a way for people to actually make a living at or generate income off their content. I got out to LA in 2012, and that's all anybody was talking about. People were getting like industry jobs doing YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And we got picked up by Full Screen and all that stuff. So that was an interesting difference in that, when I was in New York hustling in between gigs, I was doing readings of plays. I was doing small, little bitty workshop things that could grow into off-Broadway or Broadway. I come out here and everybody seems to be doing readings of films and going to shoot short films on the weekend and YouTube content and all that stuff. So there's so much more in terms of casting. There's so many more people out here trying to make an income off of performing, off of acting on film and television, that you do. Like in New York, I knew my 4 or 5 guys I was going to be up against every callback. And we were actually a really fun little network, like Joel Garland, who's on Orange is the New Black.
Right.
He's a friend from all those audition days. Really great guy. And Chris Sullivan, who's now on This Is Us.
Yes, Chris Sullivan's great. We love him here for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, he was on Stranger Things too.
If you ever get a chance to see Chris on stage, he's fantastic. Number one, I wish I had his voice. That bastard, I would work all the time. Did you know that he's the voice of the camel from Mitchy, what time is it? Or no, the Hump Day. I'm sorry,
Really?
Oh, I know. No, I did not know that.
That's Chris. Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
So, thanks for promoting him like that.
He owes you now.
Yeah, we all got to know each other, and you could kind of tell by the role who was probably more in line to book it. And sometimes there would be surprises. But we were a little team. Whereas out here, I don't see the same people at every audition ever. It's very rare that I see my group. The first time it happened to me, I was just out of grad school. I went to Rutgers for my MFA, and it was definitely my first commercial audition. I think it was for a print ad, and I went in, and I walked in the room. It was the first time I walked in the room and saw all the guys in New York who looked just like me. and then I made eye contact with this guy, and he just went, and like put his head down. And I realized what he was thinking was that I was the best looking version of us in the room.
Oh, wow.
And I've never had that. It's kind of what the show's about. Like, I've always struggled with that level of confidence, but looked around the room and I was like, okay, I've got this. And sure enough, I went in and I booked it, and it actually paid off my remaining grad school debt. So
wow, that's
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Raymond, you mentioned there's kind of a type that's looked for, and certainly you kind of fit into that given what you've been talking about thus far. Have you ever run into sort of the opposite though, like you're going for a certain role and it worked against you?
Absolutely. And I joke about it being, God forbid you walk into the audition and look like somebody's ex-husband. But no, there have been times that they were looking for the direct opposite, string being physical type, and they gave me a shot, and I ended up booking it. Because at the end of the day, it's more important that the person embody the character,
right?
That they're able to be that person. So sometimes that wins you the role, but sometimes, this is an industry of stereotypes. When writers write, they write in stereotype, and then hopefully, if they're a good writer, they make it as human, as specific as possible, so that there's a real three-dimensional person there. But it's like that moment in the show, the moment in the show where I go through some of the descriptions that pop up in auditions, and I turn into one of my characters using the description. And it's true. It's the same thing we all go through in school. You know, you've got glasses, you're a nerd. You've got big curly hair, you're a weirdo. You're skinny, so you're a dork. You know, it's the same thing. So I learned to look at those things and go, okay, that's the stereotype. You know, that's the thing everybody's going to walk in with. What are they really asking for? What subconsciously, why did they want that person to be a nerd or a jock or a whatever? And it is fun sometimes when you're able to change their mind on the way a character stereotypically is perceived, but all of a sudden you're able to go, well, yeah, of course I could be the guy who played football in high school. You know, I've met plenty of guys who look just like me who played football in high school.
Right.
I'm not the guy who plays NFL because I don't look like that. Go ahead.
And I know you talk about it more in Size Matters, which I've gotten partway into, and I can't wait to finish it. But I know you've got some personal experiences that kind of influence the idea of this, you know, this one-man comedy show that's centered around body size and image, and even just the little bit that I've been able to watch so far. I mean, a lot of that resonates with you know, being partners with Brad. I know some of the struggles, you know, that he struggles with, and I'm not a small guy either. So maybe you could talk about kind of those personal experiences without getting too much into the show material, you know?
Sure. Yeah, no, we'll leave the show for the show. Yeah, I mean, I think anybody can relate to that little voice in the back of your head that I talk about it in terms of passing, seeing yourself in the window on the street. You know, you pass by one and you go, man, I look pretty good today. Yeah, I'm feeling good. And then you pass by the next one and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, look at this. You know, you're judging yourself. And we talk about women doing that all the time, but men don't open up about that stuff. And they should, because everybody has that little voice. I don't care if you're Mr. Cut, chiseled, you know, zero body fat. There's something about you that you can nitpick apart, and that you've done it at a key moment in your life when you should have had the confidence to ask that person out, or it was a day when you just needed to feel good about yourself and you let that little voice in your head. And to relate it to the show through the title, it's kind of what I explore in the show, and why the title is a little bit of a question mark. You know, where does size matters? And I think when you watch the show, you decide for yourself if you think I'm saying that it does or not. I intentionally didn't answer that question fully. I know what it means for me. I know when it matters, and it's up here. That's why I can have confident days or low confident days, you know. I might be sorry. I'm so stream of consciousness right now.
No.
So I hope I'm answering your question, but I noticed that a lot of my writing comes from that awareness of how I'm coming across to other people, or how other people might perceive me. This was a big deal for me. I got overweight at about 8-9 years old. But before that, I had been taking martial arts since I was a little bitty boy. And so I had no problem if somebody made fun of me, just pop, you know?
Right.
And most of the time, because of the way I was trained in martial arts, I didn't, you know, I let that roll off my back. But I defended other people because I knew what it felt like to get teased. And I couldn't stand it when I watched somebody else have it happen.
Yeah, you're like the bully's worst nightmare. You're like the big kid who is coordinated.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the big guy who's fast on the football team and all that stuff. Yeah, My mom would call me the bully's bully.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's the title you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I certainly wore it with a sense of pride because. I don't know. Maybe a strong sense of justice probably runs in my family, but I never like seeing somebody who can't defend themselves get backed into a corner. That drives me nuts. And so, and I see it in my reaction to everything, to politics, to social issues, to everything. And so I'm sure the themes of this show, you would see in a lot of things that I write, and probably a lot of things that I will write in the future, for that reason, because it's more than just about, body issues. It's more about the core of treating people as you want to be treated, and looking out for somebody who can't look out for themselves for whatever reason.
Cool. Very cool.
I did want to ask, when I saw you in San Junipero, I said, this guy looks so familiar, and I've mentioned that already. You have one of those faces, like, I know I've seen him somewhere. And then I checked your IMDb page, and I said, oh, you did 2 episodes of 30 Rock with several years between them, so that's pretty cool, actually, that you got 2 different roles on the same show. I did want to ask about, and then at the same time you're in New York, you also did 2 episodes of Nurse Jackie, both directed by Paul Feig. So I was wondering and then he did one of your 30 Rock episodes as well. So I was wondering if what it was like working with Paul Feig. He's kind of a big deal now.
Yeah.
He's been around forever, and I love him, but
he is an actor's director. I mean, my roles were always really small when I got to work with him. I would love to work with him again, of course, but less about his celebrity and more about just how good he is at paying attention to everything all at once, and making whether he's talking to the cinematographer, or he's talking to an actor, or he's talking to somebody who's doing some set dressing. He's one of those people he's so comfortable and casual about it that he's able to make you all feel like he's talking directly to you. So that first episode of 30 Rock, it was the first season, and I was actually there that day when they found out that they got a second season. So
nice.
Everybody was worried, job security, all that stuff. Are we going to get a shot to do more? And we found out that day on set, while we were shooting that little bitty scene, that they did, and it was a really cool moment to get to be a part of. It's just I think it was 2007. I was only a year and a half out of school, and then in the next one, that was 30 Rock. That wasn't Paul didn't direct that one. The 2 Nurse Jackies happened. The casting director knew me well and brought me in for this, fun little bit, the one with the fingernail.
Right.
And so we had such a good time shooting that, and Paul was such a gracious director that I got to talk to him quite a bit, and we got a phone call the next week. So TV usually, when you're doing episodic season, you audition Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You go in for the callback Thursday or Friday, and then shooting the next week. And so they were now casting the next week's episode, or 2 episodes later. And they just made a phone call. They were like, Paul is directing this one as well, and asked if they just wanted another role in it.
Wow.
So it was all out of his graciousness that I got to do 2 of those. I think the second one, because I was wondering, like, how am I repeating a different person? But I was I was covered in paint from head to toe,
right,
head off. So not too many people realized it was the same guy. Spoiler. Yeah.
Right.
I think we saw that.
If there was the same guy, that was a really bad month for that character. Because I mean, it could have been a great recurring role, actually. Just every other week, something happens and you show up in the emergency room.
I remember the first time I shrieked and ran. I looked back, and I thought Edie Falco was going to bust a gut. She was laughing so hard. I did this super high pitched shriek.
Oh, that's awesome.
So much. Yeah.
Well, Raymond, you told us a lot so far about some of sort of the inspiration and thoughts behind Size Matters. Would really love for our listeners to be able to find the touring show or the DVD. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how they can access that.
Great sell. I like that. One of the easiest go-to places to find information about it and see clips of TV shows and everything I've been in is you can go to RaymondMcAnally.com, and there you'll see links, or type in SizeMattersTheMovie.com, and it'll take you to that specific page. We have a trailer, we have the synopsis of the show, and links where you can buy the show on Amazon and our e-store. And the only difference between the two is how much money you want to make sure lands in my pocket, because Amazon takes a cut.
Oh.
So you know what that means, everybody.
Yeah. Go to the e-store.
Right, exactly.
Well, Raymond, we'll definitely make sure to put some links in our show notes as well. So listeners, feel free to take a look in our handy dandy show notes and grab those links from there. It sounds like you'll be able to access Size Matters. Are you still touring around with the show, Raymond?
It's spotty. It all depends on my schedule. Okay. I'm still hoofing it for all my gigs, so it's tough to know when is okay to leave Los Angeles. Stuff pops up all the time. So right now we're trying to put together dates that work for me and a few more producers to do it at some professional theaters around the country, maybe some performing arts centers. So all that information will go up as soon as we have it on the website pages I mentioned.
Awesome. We'll keep an eye out.
I had just a couple things I wanted to throw in. I know, unfortunately, we have to cut it short. But is there anything other than what's listed on your IMDb page that we can maybe look forward to seeing you in? And also, I need to thank you for something I know I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this weekend, and that's bologna cups. Because, dude, like, I had never heard of that before, and I'm like, this is just a comedy bit. This is going to be really stupid.
Your microwave will never be the same.
He throws it in, and I'm like, oh, my God, that looks amazing. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, so the whole concept behind the Bare Naked Chef, which is one of the characters I created for Daily Fiber, was, number one, all the food he makes is stuff that my friends and I would make as, like, little kids when parents weren't watching. But I loved this idea of this, hardcore partying bachelor talking about the crap food that guys eat like it's gourmet. I have a few friends who kind of sort of get close to that. So I just wanted to capture that, and sure enough, a lot of people have related to it. Good luck with the bologna bowls. It is a true festival when they curl up just right,
Oh, that sounds so good right now.
I'm going to try that.
Hashtag bologna cup time.
Bologna cup.
Oh, goodness. Well, Raymond, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week. It's been a pleasure being able to sit down and chat with you. And definitely we will be on the lookout for maybe a chance to see you in person for a Size Matters show. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Just keep an eye out in the audience for us. Now you know what we look at, so you'll be able to pick us out.
Right. We'll wear Movie Bears t-shirts to make it more obvious.
That sounds good. Send me one of those. I'll wear it.
Heck yeah.
Actually, yeah, absolutely. You guys have those shirts.
Totally.
You should definitely send him one for sure.
We will.
I don't even have one. Send him one first, and then I'll go.
We gotta fix that, Casey Scott.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This has been great. I've been really looking forward to it.
And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Raymond. Happy birthday to you.
Nice. Good voice. I like that.
I said we wouldn't sing as a gift for your birthday, but you know what? It wouldn't be your birthday without song.
I'll cut it out when I edit it.
Leave it in. That was good.
All right. Raymond, thank you again so much. Best of luck. We look forward to seeing more of you out there. And again, listeners, look for Size Matters. You can access it in the links in our handy dandy show notes. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.